everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in. I, of course, am Rotype, and I'm back with Mouse Gunner in our Factorio guide. And today we're going to get started on oil. So Mouse has some pump jacks for us, and we're just going to put those just directly on these crude oil patches. And these actually look like great ones, 425% and 540%. So this is actually a good time. I'm actually going to pick this one up just real quick to show how if you hover over the just oil patch on the ground, you'll see yield 425%. And then when you put a pump jack on it, let me put one on because we were just looking at this one. So 425%, put a pump jack on it, and you see 4.2 per second. And that's crude oil. That's the black logo is crude oil. And you get 4.2 units of oil per second. That will go down as we pump the oil out of the ground. So you'll see that over the course of time, once we actually start pumping, that will just slowly go down to some minimum value. Now, I don't remember what that minimum value is because they recently changed it in a patch of the game. So you'll always get some oil out of your oil patches. You know, it's unlike your iron and your copper where you will run out. You will never run out, but you kind of de facto run out where at some point they're just so slow that they're useless. You get like 0.1 or I think they recently upped it to maybe like 0.5 oil per second, which is just really slow. But you know, it's something, I guess. Now, the next thing, obviously, we gave them some power. You have to actually, you know, pipe the oil somewhere. So I like to use these underground pipes because you can imagine if I just ran a bunch of regular pipe, it's I don't know, ugly. And if we didn't have our squeak through mod, so we have a mod called squeak through where I can basically clip right through the pipes. That's a mod. If you don't have that mod, you can't run through the pipes. So if you have this big long line of pipes, you can't run in, you can't get in. That's again eliminated by our mod, but I still kind of like using the underground pipe. Now you can see here, the underground pipe has a maximum distance it can travel. It's almost exactly the same as underground belt, and you'll see that by these little yellow dashes. And so this is the maximum distance. You can imagine it'll be useful to drag them out maximum distance. So if I click and hold and just run, it will automatically place new ones at its maximum distance. So that's kind of helpful if you're just running oil in from some really distant place and you just want to, you know, run it in. Just click and drag and it'll run. Now I already kind of set up a little bit of piping here. This will go back to our raw bus. I'm just going to make a little corner, little corner here with a piece of, you'll see this straight pipe when I place one is always up and down. You can't rotate it. I'm pushing R right now and it doesn't do anything. But you see if I move my mouse next to it, the existing pipe, it shows you what it's going to look like. You put it next to it and it switches orientation. So you don't really have to, yeah, you just kind of put them around. The one downside to that is, say I had some liquid, you know, crude oil in this pipe going this way, and I want to run water as well, kind of next to it, but I don't want them to mix, right? Because then you got this weird mixture. If you run them like this, you see they're all going to attach, and you're going to get this mixed pipe of all kinds of watery, oily crap. It's no good. So what you have to do is just make sure to leave a space. That's just the way they built the pipes in this game. You can't put them next to each other. They're going to automatically connect and mix all your fluids. And you think, I really don't like mixed belts. Mixed fluids are even worse. You really don't want to mix your fluids because then all your machines that you're running the fluids off of don't work because they don't get enough of their fluid. Just don't mix your fluids. It's a bad idea. So the next thing is just to connect, obviously, the other pump jack. Now what I'm going to do is just, there we go, pipe them together. And now you see these start working for a little while at least while the pipes fill up. If you hover over a pipe, it'll tell you what's in it. So you see on the right, it says crude oil and the little green bar is full. It says 10. Sometimes, let's see if you can, I guess we don't have any windows. Sometimes the pipes will make little windows. If I put up a few here, you'll see it's kind of filled with this black. I mean, crude is black. The other oils have, other oils and other oil products have different colors, but they'll fill in. You just kind of see what they are. But for now, we're going to just pipe this over. I'm actually going to bring my car before I forget. We're going to pipe this over to the raw bus because you can't actually do anything with crude oil. You have to refine it. So that is what we're up to now. I'm just checking to make sure all of these pipes are connected. I see here I have a missed connection here that I have to go fix. But as you see, you can send these pipes underneath stuff, right? I go right under these miners because I don't care. I want the miners to keep working. Let's see, this needs to be connected.
Out of curiosity, we have cars. Can you hit pipes with cars?
Yes, and that is, pipes are frankly the most frequent casualty to cars, at least in my experience. Pipes and electric poles. They are very easily destroyed by a car.
Does that just stop the oil flow when you do that?
Exactly, yeah. So I guess not quite like real life. It's not like it's going to keep pumping oil out onto the ground. It just stops the flow. But it is annoying because then you got to fix the pipe and yeah. So let's see. I'm just going to continue this down. Whoops. You can see there I was a little too anxious and I used my mouse to drag instead of just running. So it's nice to have the digital input of running will keep me completely horizontal, versus my mouse, I'm never able to move it in a directly horizontal manner. So same idea as all of these other materials for this raw bus. Crude oil to me is just another raw material that I need to do something with. I mean, I would say smelt, but you don't really smelt oil. But I'm just going to put it on the bus. And again, same as all of these other materials, I'm going to create a column for my refining. Now, this is a oil refinery. It's another thing that you make. It's under the production tab here. The only kind of interesting thing is that it requires stone brick to build. I believe we haven't talked about this, but stone brick is a pretty simple process. Same as any other kind of smelting, but if you use stone instead of iron ore, you get a brick. Pretty simple. You just set up a little column here. You see stone goes in, coal is what we're using as the fuel, and out we get is all this brick. So we can suck all this up. Brick is kind of cool because do you have any brick, mouse? Go ahead and get some brick. I'll show you. This is kind of cool. So if you click on brick in your inventory, you'll see this little green like window thing pops up over your mouse.
Oh, you can pave.
Yep, you can pave, which makes you run faster, which you can see here. It's especially noticeable on the desert because desert has a really slow running speed. So if we run next to each other, you see how much faster it is. Different types of terrain have different speed coefficients. Desert, I believe, is the slowest, and then there's all the, there's like hardtack and plains and all the other different types. Stone brick is the second fastest, I believe. Eventually, you can make concrete, which is the fastest. So I don't know, it's pretty cool. The only way to mine this is to have brick in your hand. You can't like right click on it or anything. So you have to actually have brick and then right click, and it'll pick them up kind of tediously one at a time.
Oh, that's
so you can imagine people like draw stuff. You've seen, or at least I've seen different YouTubers like write their name out in the stone brick and stuff. Another thing to note is if you numpad plus and minus, you can make your brush really big. So that's one brush at the maximum size. So if you want to just like pave the whole base, you at least, that's the biggest brush you have. So I don't know. Brick is kind of cool. I like it. Although I do tend to wait for concrete, which is even cooler. But concrete's a little more complicated. We can't build that now. Okay, this is going to take forever. I'll do that later. But that started because I was talking about these refineries. Now, I'm going to leave 2 spaces here and bring in my crude. This is where I'm going to bring the crude in. Now, I happen to know ahead of time that refineries take crude and water in some recipes, not all of them, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So if I get some more pipes from my car, I know I'm going to need water as well, so I'm going to leave extra space for water. And like I was talking about before, I need to leave this space because I don't want them to mix. So one of these is going to be crude, one of these is going to be water, and then I'll go ahead and place my refineries, and I'm OCD, so I'm going to make sure they line up just the way I want them to. And there we go. That's just 2 refineries.
Okay,
Give them a little power.
I'm going to bring you water.
Great. Yeah. So I would say another reason for using the underground pipe is you can run things right next to each other. You can see here, I'm just running this extra line. So that is one way of running parallel lines right next to each other without them mixing, because two underground pipes don't do the kind of mixing thing that the regular pipes do. So that's kind of handy. So let's see, let me get power to these refineries. That will work just fine. So now I have these refineries, and you see when I click on them, it's asking me for a recipe. And this is basically the same thing as any type of assembling machine where you pick, we pick whatever you're trying to make, except refineries have only two options. And there's only one option right now because we haven't researched the next option yet. So this is just this basic oil processing. And I'll hover over here and you'll see it takes 5 seconds. It takes 10 crude oil, and it produces 3 of these other things that we haven't seen or talked about yet. So we have the kind of orange color drop, liquid drop. That is heavy oil. We have the yellowish looking drop. That's light oil. And then the black and white, I don't know, molecule thing, that's petroleum. So those are our oil products, and they're each used for different reasons, different things. And they're each made from the crude oil. And then later, like I said, people use water. There are these 2 input ports here on the refineries. It does not do you any good to hook up both. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. You get the same amount of throughput with just one hookup. So I'm just going to hook up the one. And then, oops. Go ahead and bring this down to connect.
Okay, I have the water over here. You want me to bring it over in line with that other pipe?
Yeah, so this is what this second layer, it's not lined up properly, but this is what I was talking about, where I usually like to have the on the bus, because there are a couple other things that we need water for. So just like, pretty much anything else, it's nice to have on the bus to just go get when you need it. Oops, I did not want an inserter there. There we go.
Oh, okay. So is there a way I could have the water going both ways, or is that not a good idea?
Yeah, so pipes kind of just flow in every direction. Basically, what's going to happen is when you add, let's see, I'll bring this out a little bit. So as we insert something here, I'm just going to do this for now and not connect it. But as water is coming in this way and hits this T-junction, it's just going to fill the pipe at it tries to fill it at like an even level. So you can imagine if it takes 30 water to fill these 3 pipes, and if you only had, a fraction, let's say you had 10, it's going to put in an equal amount into each 3. So it fills up every pipe that it has access to an equal level. It doesn't work exactly like a normal pipe like you would think. It doesn't really have flow. It just it's almost like pipes are a reservoir, and it fills them all up to the same level as much as it can. So what that basically means is you add a T-junction like this, and it'll just fill as much of the pipe as it can, and our pump can provide a lot of water. So you can see it just filled everything up. You can add certain valves and things, and we haven't really gotten to that yet, but you can research things like one-way valves, check valves, and stuff like that to kind of regulate your liquid flow. Some of those are mods now that I mention it, but you do at least have an electric pump in vanilla, which will, do basically what it says. It's like a pump forcing things in a certain direction and kind of adding velocity to it. But it's not super necessary, so we won't really talk much about it unless it really becomes necessary later. But for now, yeah, you just connect it in and it goes everywhere.
All right, well, there's the beginning of your water. I ran out of pipe, so I can't.
There is more in my car, which is down there, but we don't need water right now because this recipe only requires crude oil. We will need water later, though. So you can see here now, these are not running anymore because they are full of all of their products. You can see you click on them, they're full, same as an assembling machine. It shuts down when it doesn't have any place to put the stuff. It makes a bunch of stuff, doesn't have any place to put it. What I like to do is then make kind of another bus of these products. And you have to be a little careful about this because, like I've said before, you don't want your products mixing together. And to do that, you can't put 2 parallel pipes right next to each other because they'll mix together. So there's kind of this little design that I guess has kind of been accepted as a way to do that. You have, one step here to allow you to come up. This is your 2-step for the light oil, and then your 3-step for the heavy oil, and that keeps everything kind of in its own little space. It's little, and then you can just connect them together like this. You put another
Oh, okay.
underground. This is kind of a clever little way of connecting all the things without mixing. Because like I said, you really don't want to mix.
And then you have a main production line that you can add to the bus, I guess.
Exactly. So now that I'm thinking about it, so we could do it a couple ways. We could put a kind of mini liquid bus down here, which is what
Mhm.
I'm leaning towards, because that way, I don't really want to bring them all the way down here and then over, and then they're just going to come all the way. So I'm going to make kind of a sub bus right here. And let's see, I'll do that just like this. And again, you have to be a little careful because of the mixing. So this is how you generally turn the corners. And you can see this way, nothing's mixed together. Move the car out of the way. And now as you bring this out, you can see you have 3 conveniently spaced products. They're all in their own pipes, not mixing with anybody else. They're all, now you have like a liquid bus right here, which is handy. Yeah, move the car out away a little bit. So now we have this, we got these liquids. Great. What do I do with them now? The next thing is, well, pretty much any number of things that you're going to need these oil products for. And this is where a lot of early players get confused, because oil can get a little confusing. So pretty much my first advice, if you're dealing with oil for the first time, is leave yourself a ton of space, because you never know kind of what else you're going to need. Right now, we don't have a tree that needs oil, but we'll start unlocking things and you'll find out, oh, I need to do this. And if you box yourself in, you're going to have a little bit of a trouble. But one of the first things you'll find you need oil for is something called lubricant. So I'll go ahead and place, again, just leaving some space. I'll place these chemical plants. Now these are, again, basically like assembly machines for liquid products. So we have the refineries, and then these chemical plants basically do the, I don't know, further refining, I guess it could be, whatever you want to call it. These have many more options available for their research. So you open them up and you've got all these different things. And these are things you can make with different oil products. So like I said, the first thing I'm going to make is lubricant. And that's this green thing over here. And you hover over it and you see it takes 1 second and it requires 1 heavy oil. So I'm going to go ahead and just make some lubricant here. And that will just require...
I'm bringing the pipe. Oh, nope.
See,
oh, you rotate it. Oh, I had you.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is again, one of those personal preference things, but I have this kind of layout that I like to do where I kind of quadruple these up and set it like this.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
You can run this down and just say, there's my lubricant. So just, again, a nice thing that I like to do, not required or anything. But similar to the refineries, you don't have to fill up both of these ports. That's not necessary. So I'll just kind of set these up here. Now, what I like to do is actually just kind of do this in line. And the nice thing about using these underground pipes is, so if this is my setup here, so this is my bus, right? This is all set up, and I say, oh, I need heavy. I can just do this. I don't have to really just add those in, and it works just great.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so that's an easy way to just kind of branch off of the liquid bus. Now these just need power, and they will be good to go. Cover both of these with 1 pole. And now these are starting to make lubricant. So it's hard to see with the alt info on, but if you turn the alt info off, you can see there's a little splashing around going on. That means they're working. Obviously you can click on them and look at the green bar. It's kind of going, meaning it's producing. So now these are consuming our heavy oil and producing lubricant. Now we actually don't need lubricant right now, but I generally like to set up my oil setups in this manner. The last thing I'll do, I think, in this episode though, is grab some tanks, which is just another thing you can make. I think they require iron and steel, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to put a tank for my lubricant right, again, giving myself a decent amount of space there. That'll be good enough. And I'm just going to connect those. And you'll see this will now fill up with lubricant. So these are keep producing because I have a place to send the lubricant, and the lubricant will just go into this storage tank.
Okay. And it shows how much it has, 109. Is that correct if I hover over it?
That's right. So we'll get into this probably next episode, but this is a really convenient way to monitor your different liquid levels. You put different ones in tanks and stuff. And then just like a box, you hover over it and it'll say, oh, you have this much lubricant. So I know I have 109 lubricant kind of stored up for when I need it.
Okay.
So all that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So next episode, we'll get into a little more of this oil stuff. But that is it for this one. I want to thank you guys for watching. My name's been Rotype. He's been Mouse Gunner, and we'll see you next time.